Hi, it's Sean, and you're listening to The 3-Month Vacation. How do you pay for your house when your mortgage payments are as high as 9%? We decided to buy a house 4 months after we moved to New Zealand. The mortgage seemed manageable, even though the interest rate was quite high then. And we did what most people don't tend to do, which is we bought some books on how to pay our mortgage quickly and efficiently. One of these books was by author Anita Bell, and it was called Your Mortgage and How to Pay It Off in 5 Years by someone who did it in 3. She had several pieces of advice and a system to pay off the mortgage. The lesson that we took from the book was how we needed to monitor our eating out expenditure. We decided to spend $150 per month on eating out. If we were careful and went to places that weren't so expensive, we could eat out about 5 times a month. However, if we decided to splurge and spend the entire budget in the first week, there would be no eating out for the rest of the month. Before we set out on this benchmark, we believed that we weren't eating out so much. We thought, well, we're not doing anything less or more than the average person. We go out from time to time. We need to somehow reward ourselves. But then, when we looked at our credit card bill, we had been spending twice or thrice the amount. So we'd spend about $500 just eating out. However, once there was a clear benchmark, once we had the $150 budget in mind, we had to stop. Benchmarks rather than willpower are an ideal way to reach almost all your goals. Take the example of Ravi Gupta from Sequoia Capital. His aim is to keep fit not just for himself, but also to be healthy enough to run with his kids. And he has young kids. In an interview, he mentioned how some people love exercise. As you can tell, he's not one of those people. To keep his weight under check, not only would he have to exercise, but he would need to eat smarter. His trainer gave him a benchmark. He said this: there are 21 meals in a week, and if you want to lose weight, 19 or more of those meals must be good meals. They must be eaten at home. If you want to maintain your weight, 15 to 19 of them need to be good ones. And if it's fewer than 15, then you're going to gain weight. And this is the whole point about willpower. Willpower asks you to choose, to make a decision. If you want to take willpower out of the equation, decision-making must be minimal. There has to be just some kind of number that you can relate to, some number that you can benchmark against. So let's say you want to go for a walk. Once you step on the street, you'll find that at 6 a.m. on almost any day, there are people who always seem to be there. One of these people is a 65-year-old called Eddie. If it's raining, I don't walk, he told us one day. Eddie wakes up every morning, he listens for the sound of precipitation, and if it's already raining, he stays indoors. If rain is in the forecast, he will still go for a walk. The only thing that stops him from walking is if it's raining at the point of departure. It rains about 180 days in Auckland annually. But Eddie's always on the road because there are only so many days that it rains at the exact moment that he's leaving the door. Willpower is tiring almost all the time. It might sound like keeping the expenses to $150 a month or counting how many meals you eat is just another form of willpower. And it's fair to say that it does sound like willpower. But because there's a number there, because it's numerical, you are able to cope with it much better. You don't have to make those decisions. And you know this to be true because that's how you brush your teeth. You don't go, okay, I brush my teeth 5 days a week, or brush it on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. You don't do that. You do that every single day. And so there's no decision making. You just step into the bathroom and you brush your teeth. Any habit creation does not need a 200-page book. It does not need you to figure out stuff. It needs some kind of planning, some kind of design, but eventually it's about not making a decision at all. That's what makes a habit. And there are times when numbers are not going to count, and what you need is a simple mantra. Not mantra, like how a lot of people say, but mantra. As you probably know, I wake up before 4 a.m., but that's because I work at 4 a.m. In fact, now it's pretty late at about 6:30 while I'm recording this podcast. And the question that I get from a lot of people is, do I really like to wake up that early? Not really. I envy those who can sleep in until 7 a.m. or later. Even so, it's easy to do nothing if I'm up. I can read the news, I can go through email, I can even watch Netflix while I'm in bed. And something numerical fails me at these moments. And so I have to have some statement that I can use. And my statement, and this doesn't have to be your statement, my statement is successful people hate doing the same things that unsuccessful people hate doing, but they do it anyway. And you'll have a completely different statement. Something that appeals to you. Something that gets your engines firing. That mantra takes the decision making away from my hands. I don't have to decide because it's constantly reminding me that I have to get to work or I won't do what I've set for the day. That same mantra plays a reverse role when I'm on holiday and often seem to sleep in till almost 5:30 a.m. The success when I'm on vacation is to sleep in as much as possible. In both cases, the main factor isn't willpower. It's the absence of decision-making. If you have to make a decision, you're already putting yourself in a position where there's a greater chance of failure because willpower is tiring. There will always be the days when I throw the mantra, numbers, and willpower in the garbage. On some days, you're too overwhelmed, you're just too tired, you haven't slept well. And I find that I eat too much on those days. I rustle through the snack boxes, I dig up the cheese from the fridge. If there's ice cream, I'll probably have several helpings. And everyone is entitled to their own little breakdown from time to time. But on most days, things go smoothly simply because there's a system in place. And it's not easy. That's why it's almost always a struggle, because without a tiny system of this nature, all we end up doing is reading one more book, thinking about it a lot, reading one more article on habits, and not getting things done. You have to give yourself or get yourself a mantra. You have to have a numerical benchmark. That's how you get out of it. That book on habits, chuck it out of the window. It's not going to help you as much as you think. All you need is to take decision-making out of the mix. And that brings us to the end of this podcast. What's the one thing that you learned? Well, it's probably the same thing over and over again, but if you have a number, or if you have a mantra, if you have something that you can say to yourself, those are probably the things that are going to get you through almost anything. And then you're going to have this recurring habit in place. And if not, well, then not. Then you'll have to read another book on habits. And on that note, let's find out what's happening in psychotactics land. One of the things that you really need in a business is uniqueness. And you look at any company and they don't have a uniqueness anymore because it's impossible to have one. Think of any brand, whether you think of Apple or Samsung or any company, they do not have a uniqueness. but their products need to have uniqueness factors in place. And therefore, you're going to have all your products, all your services, they all need to have that uniqueness. And you don't have to buy anything. Go to psychotactics.com/U goodies. That's U for umbrella and then goodies, and you get a whole bunch of goodies. Also, if you have been enjoying this podcast, then tell a friend about it. Send it to someone else so that they can listen to it. And if you're still on Apple and you can leave a review, then please do so. It's been a while since people have left a review, so it kind of looks a little dated. So if you can leave a review, that would be really cool. That's pretty much it from Psychotactics, and I'll say bye for now. Bye-bye. One of the things that I really enjoy is eating walnuts, and I don't like walnuts that have already been shelled. So I use the pestle, which is the mortar and pestle, and I didn't know which one was the pestle and which one was the mortar, but I had to look it up. Anyway, I use the pestle, I crack open the nut, and I have a subscription. Yes, I have a subscription to walnuts, which means that every month, one whole bag of walnuts come in and are sitting outside my door in a box. And I didn't know how many walnuts were in that box. So I would probably eat 4 or 6 or 10. I had no idea. And so every day Willpower was involved because I really love eating walnuts. And then I go, okay, how many walnuts are in this bag? And there are 120 approximately. And I have a month to eat them, so that's 4 a day. That's how I know. It's numerical. I don't have to think, oh, am I going to use my willpower and eat less today? Or have I done too little today? It's never too little. It's always too much. But now I know 4 is my number. And if I skip one day, then the next day I get 6. And the day after I get 6. And if I find that I'm eating too many of these things like snacks and stuff, I just don't buy them. And that's it from me. And I'll see you in 5000 BC. If you haven't already considered it, go to 5000bc.com. It's a community where you can ask a lot of your questions, and I will be there to answer them. Bye for now. Bye-bye.